Rosas, I think you're muted.
Sorry, there it is. Hi, David. Sorry, I didn't mean to be just talking and not here. Okay, so on the topics, there's a place where there's classwork. You click on that. There's a question that's due in a few more minutes. I'm gonna give you guys like 5 more minutes. And you just click on it and then answer them. They're super, super easy. Just trying to make sure that you guys, in fact, read. So yeah, let me get ready for the class. Get quick. Okay, get that off. And there's us. Let me go to PowerPoint. And our stream. Meeting with hello. And let's do that. Okay. Right. See how many people are still working on the quiz. And then just a word on Khan Academy. I am inputting grades tonight. So if you've been neglecting Khan Academy because you're a neglectful person, or yeah, I can't label you any other way, or just forgotten about it or whatever, make sure you get it done. It's 45 minutes. I know what you've done, if you've done it, because I can check. So, and there's a lot of 0 minutes in there that I checked yesterday night around 9 p.m. And there's a lot of people who haven't even touched it. So if that's one of you who hasn't even touched Khan Academy for English, you need to get going.
Is
And I'm
this
ready.
the first 45 minutes or the second? So all we need is 45 minutes and nothing more?
Nothing more. And it's been assigned for at least 2 weeks. So while I know that there's a lot of, and this is response to one of you guys who said it's a lot, I know, but you've had like since the beginning of we started, I assigned it. So yeah, just make sure that you get it done. It's been going around, and I won't assign one till next week, and then it won't be due for like 2 weeks. So I do give you somewhat of a time. So just kind of stay on top of that one. But yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let me go to our class. Done. Okay, the majority of you are done. Those of you who are still working on it, I know there's some people who aren't here either. So, okay, so it's the people who have been, Phoenix is having trouble with his too. Okay, so I don't know if Taylor is in here. I don't think she's here today. Okay, so that's good. That means most of you guys are done. All right, so go ahead and grab your notes. We're gonna start with the analysis of scene 3. And just to give a quick recap, we've gone through scene 2. We know that the whole plot is starting. We talked about how Brabantio is extremely upset. He wants Othello to be killed. And so right now, they're going to go to the Duke. They're going to go to the government. So to the government representation, which is the Duke. And that's where scene 3 opens. So here's my blank kind of piece of paper where I'll take notes with you. So I'm hoping that you guys are taking notes as well. We do have a time right in about 2 weeks. So make sure that one, you're reading, and 2, that you're keeping up with the notes, so that and your graphic organizer for sure. So, oh, okay. All right, so I'm gonna put us all down. If you are texting on the chat, I'll check it. I think it tells me so. Or if somebody is trying to come in, I'll check it too. Okay, so scene 3 opens where we see the Duke. And here's the Duke of Venice. Again, he is if you can go with me to the play as well, so you're not just following with the screen, but you're also following with mine. So he goes to here, right? And you see there's kind of like the exposition of a problem. Something is going on in the city. And you can hear over here, and we won't quote yet, just yet. I'm kind of just setting up to kind of like the background things that are going to start happening. This is where all we're still in the exposition part of the play. We're still in Act 1. We're still trying to figure out how the rising action will begin. And it gives us a little bit of a hint of what's going to happen next. So there's a conflict going on around the city. And the senator says 200, but though they jump not on a just account, as in these cases, where the aim reports, 'tis off with difference, yet do they all confirm a Turkish fleet and bearing up to Cyprus. So Cyprus is actually a city of them. So they're it's one of the cities where they're part of the government, right? It's part of the whole country. So what's going on is that a Turkish fleet, and do you guys know what a fleet is? Let's see. Anybody? What's a fleet?
A ship.
There you go. So it's a bunch of ships. It's a bunch of ships parked up. And what is the reason that they're there? Are they just to look cute? What are they trying to do?
They're vibing.
They're not vibing for sure.
They're rising it up.
They're preparing for war. So in this case, and we'll put the U.S. example. So let's say that who do we use? Japan is always trying to attack us in some way. Let's say that a Japanese fleet is in or kind of floating around U.S. waters, and it's not just one ship, it's a bunch of ships.
It will be vaporized.
So it's a fleet there. I'll just use that word because I cannot pronounce it for the love of my life. Okay. So it's there's a lot of boats in there, and we have an army, and we know that they're right there. So the U.S. is going to automatically react and ask, question, why are you on U.S. waters without permission? And if they don't answer, or if they don't give a sufficient answer on why they're there, the U.S. is going to think that they're being attacked. So
we're going to deploy a third atom bomb.
I'm sorry?
There will be a third atom bomb.
Perhaps. So in the same way that the U.S. would feel like they're being attacked, that's how the Duke and the senators, that's what they're talking about in here. That's the background information that we get from what's going on. So let's add that into our notes. So in scene 3, as scene 3 opens, there's a conflict on the horizon. There's a military conflict on the horizon. And we'll just put ellipses there just because, yeah. And it's between a Turkish fleet and the city or province of Cyprus. Okay, and we know that the Duke and the senator are talking, so let's see what goes on after that. Okay. All right, so we're here. While they're talking, right, they're talking about what's going on. You see the Turkish preparation makes for roads. So I was bid report here to the state by Senior Angelo. They're just talking about what's happening. So we won't really focus on that because it's a lot of state stuff. I want to focus on where right over here, it's kind of around line 380, where in the middle of this talking between the senators and the Duke, remember this is at night. So that's kind of where we're at. This is in the middle of the night. It kind of came as a surprise. It's almost like it's the announcement of a military attack on Cyprus or towards Cyprus. And so the Duke is pretty worried, you know, he's startled. It's the middle of the night, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. And here comes Othello, Iago, Rodrigo, the officers, and Brabantio. Okay, again, middle of the night. So we have the Duke of Venice, and I want you to see and notice how he treats Othello. He says, "Valiant Othello, we must straight employ you against the general enemy Ottoman," and then refers to Brabantio. Let me admit that person. It's Julia.
Ottoman?
The vibes are atrocious. Okay. Yeah, Ottoman. So, and then he says, "I didn't see you. Welcome, General Senior, with Lecture Council and help tonight." So he's like, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can help us." But look at how the Duke of Venice treats Othello. And this is where I want to start building our analysis of who really is Othello as a public figure. So let me go to, let's see, let me go to Faith. Faith, just by the way, the Duke is pretty much the government, right? So imagine the president speaks to a man and he says, "Oh, brave Othello, like, we're glad you're here." What kind of public figure is Othello in front of the eyes of the government?
Well, he's a military figure. He's a pretty like high up there too.
Prominent, yes.
So,
Thank you. So he is a prominent military figure, and we know this from the Duke's speech, right? So I'll just add that, the Duke's speech, where he calls him valiant. Let me see. Put that away. For those of you who signed in a little late, I'll talk to you right after class. We are finishing early today because we did start a little earlier. So hang on to me, okay? All right, Othello, we must straight employ you against the general enemy. So he says, "Valiant Othello, we must employ you." Yes, Maria, go ahead, honey.
Okay, so sorry, this is a little off topic, but do you still have the class code to join on to your Khan Academy?
Yes, ma'am. I'll, in fact, post it today let me add it to my to-do list. I'll post it just in case anybody doesn't know it or lost
Thank
it,
you.
whatever. So I'm going to say,
I'm one of the neglectful folk.
of course. As in, of course, not you.
This is nothing new.
Okay, Post Academy class code. I'll post that today, okay, guys? All right, thank you, hon. Okay,
Thank you.
so what I want you guys to notice, and that's the reason why I'm stopping here, is imagine, again, I'm going to put the U.S. as a comparable, or as a comparison. Imagine the president of the United States, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, sees a man coming, and he's a prominent military member. He is not the entire military. Of course, in the U.S., there's a lot of things that happen before anything happens. You know, there's whole military branches that we have. But in this case, in this small little place, Othello is the man to go. So he's not just prominent in the eyes of everybody. He is prominent in the eyes of the Duke, the government, right? So much that he says, "We are going to employ you." So very specific, or specifically, the Duke points out to Othello as being the only, and I'll put that in quotes, the only necessary, or the only, how would you say this? The only person capable of confronting this situation, which gives insight into the public face or the public image that Othello had. You know, people respected him in such a way. And yes, he was black, and we see Brabantio and Iago and Rodrigo dismissing him, mistrusting him, thinking that he's a wicked person because of his color. But in his public image, in the eyes of the government, he's a brave man who is seen or deemed as almost like the only one capable of going and confronting the enemy. So that's where you start seeing his, and I found that on lines, I think that's line 381. So I'll add that into, it's scene 1, act 3, lines 381. Oops, there you go. Okay,
Would it not be Act 1, Scene 3?
yeah. That's why it's 1.3, 381.
Okay. You said Scene 1, Act 3.
I'm sorry, the other way around. So it's right there, 1.3.381. That's how you say it. Okay, so Brabantio, of course, is extremely upset. He's like, look, I don't care about what's going on with the country. Let me hear my business. And then Duke, you know, he's pretty nice. What's the matter? And Brabantio is over here, and I would hope. Well, Mariah's really good. Mariah, how would Brabantio say, my daughter, oh, my daughter, but like, I don't know, pretty dramatic way. You seem to be.
My daughter! Oh, my daughter!
There you go, that's perfect.
Oh my god.
That was awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Mariah.
and then the Duke of Venice. Let's see, somebody be the Duke of Venice. Rachel.
What?
He answers. Here's the answer that you would tell Mariah or the Duke of Venice. Man, I wish we were in class. We would totally do the stage.
Oh my god, do I have to do this?
Just
Can I
read
do
the
the
word
girls'
dead.
Dead.
Dead. No, but like with, you know, sentiment. Dead?
Can I say
With
it?
vim and vigor.
Go ahead, Victor.
Dead.
Okay, no, not like that. More like a question. Dead?
Dead?
There you go. Okay, go ahead, Mariah.
Aye, to me, she is abused, stolen from me, and corrupted by spells and medicines brought of mountebanks, for nature so preposterously to her, being not deficient, blind, or lame of sense, sans witchcraft could not.
Okay, now let me explain what he's trying to say. For those of you who are like, what did he just say?
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know what that means.
that's okay. So he says, I to me, more like, oh, poor me, right? She's abused, stolen from me. You can understand that, right? She's abused, stolen from me, and corrupted by spells and medicines bought of mountebanks. So what is he really saying? He's saying, my poor little daughter has been abused. My poor little daughter did not consent to this. Okay? So up to now, Brabantio thinks she was kidnapped. There was no way she could have given consent. And why is there no way she could have given consent to marry this man? Let me go to Noelani. How come there's no way she could have gone marry voluntarily with Moore or with Othello?
Because Brabantio didn't give his consent to the marriage. Also,
Nobody would have performed it.
yeah, also because like he was black and he didn't agree with like her marrying him. So
Very good. Very good. Yeah, mostly because he was
Racist.
black. And yeah, he was. So he's saying if anything happened, she's under magic spell, right? She has some kind of drug. She must and then he says, for nature so preposterously to err, being not deficient, blind or lame of sense, sans witchcraft could not. So what he's saying is, if she was in her good senses, or because she has good senses, none of this would have happened. She must be under a spell. Nothing otherwise would have been able to happen. So he's again blaming Othello of drugging or witchcraft, which again, it was believed that slaves or black people at the time practiced that because they were not Christian, right? Or according to their religious views. So And then the Duke, of course, kind of reacts as he ought to. He's the government. He says, okay, whomever. By now, he doesn't know that, right? He doesn't know it's Othello because Brabantio didn't mention his name. But the Duke of Venice is like, oh, trust me, whomever did this, they're going to pay with their lives, you know, because the book of law is the book of law. Nobody's going to go above that. And then Brabantio says, humbly I thank your grace. Here's the man, this Moor, whom now it seems your special mandate for the state affairs hath whither brought. So let's see how the Duke of Venice reacts. So he was ready to kill somebody once he heard what had happened, according to Brabantio's version, right? But now the Duke of Venice says, we are very sorry for it. How did his reaction change? I mean, he could have said, okay, away with this man, you know, kill him over. But he doesn't react like that. Why does the Duke react like, oh, we're sorry? He almost dismisses this. Let me go to Donna. I know your mic works. Why does the Duke act like that? Like, it almost doesn't matter.
Isn't he like jealous or something?
Is what?
Jealous? Or is that a different part?
Yeah, we're on scene 3.
Okay.
So, just kind of recapping, Brabantio comes in, says my daughter has been poisoned, kidnapped, and whatnot. And then the Duke says, oh, we're going to kill whomever did that. And then Brabantio says, oh, it's actually the Moor, the one that you're sending off to war. And then the Duke is all like, oh, we're sorry. But nothing else. Like, he doesn't send him to jail, nothing else. Like, the natural response. Why doesn't he react like that?
Because he works for him and he doesn't want to lose that.
Very good. So why does the Duke react so calmly? Again, he is the government. He can send anyone to death penalty right away without even question, right? Not even a trial. So he reacts so calmly because Othello is a key part of his army and cannot afford to send him away. So in a bit of a way, we know that Brabantio is obviously blinded by the accusations that Rodrigo kind of put in his head. He doesn't really know the whole truth. He's gonna go into the government with a one-sided story, right? And the Duke reacts this way because we know he's counting on Othello to go to war for them and defend their city. So he can't really kill the man who he just asked or commissioned to go to the war, right? Let's go on. So, and then the Duke of Venice says, what in your own part can you say to this? Nothing but this is so. So Brabantio's like, nope, this is the story. And here's Othello's defense. So it's a bit of a lengthy thing, but let's try to kind of break it apart. He says, most pontiff grave and reverse signors, my very noble and approved good masters, that I have taken away this old man's daughter. It is most true. True, I have married her. The very head in front of my offending hath this extent no more. So he's saying, yes, I did. I'm guilty. I did marry her. I did steal her. I didn't ask for the father's consent, but that's about it. There's no witchcraft. There's no medicine. There's no drug. She went all by herself. He says, rude am I in my speech, and little blessed with the soft phrase of peace. For since these arms of mine had 7 years' pith, till now some 9 moons wasted, they have used their dearest action in the tended field. In little of this great world can I speak, more than pertains to feats of broil and battle, and therefore little shall I grace my cause in speaking for myself. So, what is Othello doing here? How does he defend himself? How does Othello?
Very calmly and humbly and not being a jerk.
Very good. So very calmly, almost in a composed way, like he doesn't react like a man of war. He's humble. So he reacts humbly. Okay, but more than just his reaction or describing his reactions, his words, and this is one of the quotes that I want to use because it really shows who he is. Lines 420 to 430, I think it is. Okay, so I'm gonna just put that into a little arrow. It's Act 1, Scene 3, lines 420 to 30. Okay, and this is what he's saying when he is saying, copy those really quick. Rude am I in my speech, and little blessed with soft phrase. Speak. Okay. There it is. Okay. Whoa. Didn't copy. Okay, so I'm gonna just copy that really quick into our little thing. Undo. Not worse. Okay. I'm gonna make it super, super small, okay? But you already know what I'm quoting. There. Okay. So it's really small and you can't really see it, but I wanted included in there so you guys can have those lines. Okay, so what he's saying, and I won't write the notes, but as you're listening to me kind of put it apart, I want you to write your notes. So I won't write notes for you. Go ahead and write your notes. So here's line 420 to line 430. He says, rude am I in my speech, and little blessed with the soft phrase of peace, for since these arms of mine had 7 years' pith. So what is he saying? He's saying, I know I don't speak like a gentleman. I know I'm not an educated man because I spent all my years in war. So that's how he defends himself, right? And he goes on to saying, I spent all the years of my life. I'm a rude guy, almost like not a rude in like he doesn't know how to speak, but more rude of he's a military man. He's not a softy and Philly, none of that. And I know that a lot of you guys have met men like this who have been in the military for most of their lives. How do they present themselves? Are they like super sensible and, you know, like people who have been educated, or they're more like rough and, you know, kind of straight to the point? Which one, in your experience with the people you've seen? I mean, a lot of them are very sensible, but for the most part, those who've developed this character of a military man. Let me hear from Jillian. I don't know if you've ever seen that person.
So what was your question? I didn't really hear it.
Okay, so my question is, in your experience, and I don't know if you have any, but that you've met military men who spend a lot of years in military, what's their character like? Are they like super soft and Philly and like, you know, super educated, or are they more like rough and straight to the point?
They're more, I don't know. I think a lot of them can be very quiet, and they're definitely take things seriously, and yeah, I don't know. They're kind of like stoic in a way, I guess.
Yeah. Anybody else who's had experience? Maybe a family member?
I do, Miss Rosas.
Go ahead, Victor.
Well, I've actually met 2 people that have been in the military like most of their lives. One of them is my cousin. He's happy and joyful. He's not respectful to me because since he's older, he always bullies me even when
Yeah, that's almost normal.
I've also met this other man. He's a veteran now. He's like his late 60s. He's very respectful. He always shakes my hand. He's very straightforward. He's not like stoic or anything. He's a good man.
Okay, good. Yeah. But we get this general sense, and that's what Othello's referring to, you know. He hasn't been a man of the city, if you will. He's always been in the military. That's his whole life. He's a military man. He's very respectful. He's built his public image on that. And he made a mistake, you know, and he's accepting it. He's realizing, he's saying, yeah, by your gracious patience, I will around unvarnished tale deliver with my whole course of love. What drugs, what charms, what conjuration, and what mighty magic. For such proceeding, I am charged with all. I won his daughter. So he's going to say, okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. And Brabantio is, he's still really angry, doesn't really know, doesn't really understand. He says, look, and I'm not going to go over this, but he's trying to tell Othello, no, she's so gentle. She's such a pretty lady. Like, how could she ever even look at you? Look at you. You're such a rough man. You have no education. And of course, you're black and all that. So don't want to go over too much on that. And then what they do is they're kind of going back and forth. And so Othello says, okay, you don't believe me? Fine. Let's go get her and see if she can speak for herself, So they end up going to get Othello goes and calls Desdemona. But before he does that, he tells of how is it that she fell in love with him. We almost never see that he fell in love with her. Of course they are in love, but he tells of the story. So I don't want to go over much of it, but I do want to ask. So Piper, how is it that how do they meet basically? How does Desdemona and Othello meet?
Well, they meet when Othello's in Brabantio's house, and he's telling him stories of all of the things he's done, and he's basically just boasting about himself.
Yeah.
And then later on, he sees Desdemona, and she wants to hear about the stories as well, and then they get talking, and then they fall in love.
Very good. Okay, so that's exactly what he's talking about here. And I don't want to quote it, but if you guys have any quotes on this big old dissertation of how they met, you get to know this man. You get to see who he really is, what he's gone through. He says, I used to be a slave. I bought my own freedom, went into the military ranks, etc. So I'm gonna just add that into our notes. That's on lines, go back, his big old speech, and you don't need to quote the whole thing. That's what I'm not doing. 475 to 515. So in this big speech, scene 1, 3, 475 to 500. In this whole speech, Othello speaks about his past adventures, his life as a young man. Remember, Othello is older, a lot older than Desdemona. His life as a young man. He recounts his days as a slave and how he bought his freedom and became a prominent member of the military. So he's a self-made man. That's what we can get from here. He's self-made. He's a go-getter. So we see these parts of his character in these lines. So I just wanted to put it to you guys. So when we're writing essays, we are going to analyze Othello's, just kind of letting you know right now, we're going to analyze Othello's character and how he develops from the beginning till the end. That's going to be one of our essays, character analyzation. So that's why I'm being careful to kind of speak about him as much as I can, so you guys have that stuff for you. Okay, so here's Desdemona, Duke of Venice. Okay, go on, girl, tell us what happened. And then here we see her for the very first time. So far we've only seen Iago, we've seen the Duke, Rodrigo, Brabantio, Othello. So only the men we've seen. Now Desdemona comes into the picture, comes into the scene, and see what she says. So she's a woman, young woman. My noble father, I do perceive here a divided duty. To you, I am bound for life and education. My life and education both do learn me how to respect you. You are the law of duty. I am hitherto your daughter, but here's my husband, and so much duty as my mother showed to you, preferring you before her father. so much I challenge that I may profess due to the more my lord. So you can see that so Desdemona in this, I won't put the lines, this is for you guys to take notes on. She's saying, Dad, I know you're my dad. I know I owe you my life and my education, but my education tells me that once I'm married, I have somebody else to answer to, and that's my husband. And she even calls it my lord, which is a pretty much of a slap in the face for Brabantio. And you know, Brabantio's losing a Duke. The Duke is like, okay, tell me what happened, you know, what happened to both of you, how come you fell in love? And you know, Brabantio is still kind of pretty upset, can't get him from, you know, this guy is a douche, he stole my daughter. But the Duke again is taking Othello's side. He is a little bit on that side because Othello is going to fight for them, so he can't really get on his bad side. And so now they're going back into the business of what's going to happen with the war. So we're back on that. And here's the Duke of Venice saying, the Turk with the most mighty preparation makes for Cyprus. So like it's urgent, it's an urgent matter. We're going to be attacked soon. And then he says, Othello, the fortitude of the place is best known to you. And though we have there a substitute of most allow sufficiency, yet opinion, a sovereign mistress of effects, throw a more safer voice on you. So you're the one, you know, you're the man. You're going to go now. Because even though we have somebody over there, we kind of trust you more. You most therefore be content to slubber the glass of your new fortunes with this more stubborn and boisterous expedition. So they're sending him away. So Othello says, the tyrant custom, most grave senators have made the flinty and steel couch of war, my thrice-driven bed of down. I do agonize a natural and prompt alacrity. I find in hardness and do undertake these present wars against the Ottomites. Most humbly, therefore, bending to your state, I crave fit disposition for my wife, do reference of plays and exhibition with such accommodation and besort as levels with her breeding. So here's what Othello is doing. And I know I didn't take notes in there, but Othello is being sent away to fight for Cyprus, right? So here's kind of where it starts breaking down. And so he requests, let me put that into a bullet point. So Othello requests a house for his wife. But more than that, once again, we can see his character speaking and saying, all right, duty calls. I'm going to go, you know. The only thing I'm asking is for somebody to take care of my wife. And he doesn't just want anything. A house that fits her, and he calls it breeding. I know this only refers to animals, but what he means by breeding is by his upbringing, by her upbringing. You know, she was rich, probably comfortable, full of servants and whatnot. So Othello doesn't want her to suffer in any way. So you can see his character. Even though he's a military man, Jillian used the word stoic. He may be like that, but at the end of the day, he's also worrying for his wife. He doesn't just want to leave for duty, even though that's his primary concern at the moment. He also looks out after his wife. And so they go back and forth. The Duke says, okay, we'll let her go stay at her dad's. Desdemona is like, nope, I'm not going over there. This is my husband. I'm going to go with him. So this is where she kind of really declares what she's all about. Let me look at the chat really quick. This is my crib. Okay, honey, that's okay. Okay, all right, just random chats. Okay, so this is where, and then for those of you remember, I am recording. I hope I'm recording. The discussion, I'm recording it. You can always watch the YouTube video later. So Desdemona says that I did love the Moor to live with him. My downright violence and storm of fortunes may trumpet to the world. My heart subdued even to the very quality of my lord. I saw Othello's visage in his mind, and to his honor and his valiant parts did I my soul and fortunes consecrate. So she's really just declaring her love. And these lines are important because we do see an insight into who Desdemona is as a woman or as a wife. So here is Desdemona declaring. So she declares her love and duty towards her husband. And this is Act 1, Scene 3, lines, I think 600 to 610. Okay. And then because she says, you know, I'm in love with this man. Whatever you guys say, I don't care. I love him. Nobody's going to take him away from me. And so Othello says, okay, you know, let's do what she says. I love her too, etc. So moving a little bit more down, Desdemona ends up going with Othello to Cyprus. And Othello knows Cyprus is a kind of a dangerous place. So what he ends up doing is he leaves her with Iago. So kind of first mistake, of course, Othello doesn't know who Iago really is. And so here, Othello says, my life upon her faith, honest Iago, my Desdemona must I leave to thee. So he's going to leave her in charge, or he's going to leave him in charge of Desdemona. I prithee let thy wife attend on her and bring them after in the best advantage. Come, Desdemona, I have but an hour of love of worldly matters and direction to spend with thee. We must obey the time. So he's gonna, okay, I'm gonna spend like the last hour with you, you know, come with me. But you already know that Desdemona is gonna be staying with Iago and his wife. So I think his wife's name is Emilia. We later learned that, but I'm giving it to you now so you're not confused later on. And we know that this is going to prove to be a grave mistake. And remember, we, the audience, we know who Iago truly is. But Othello can't perceive this. He doesn't know who Iago is, right? Okay, and then we get this funny conversation between Rodrigo and Iago, and Rodrigo's acting pretty dramatic. He's like, I'm gonna go drown myself. And Iago's like, oh, you stupid. Why are you gonna do that? And you know, Rodrigo's like, why else? Because I can't have her. And, you know, he's all madly in love and trying to commit suicide. And so Iago says, no, you're so dumb. Why are you going to do that? Don't do that. Here's what you should do. And he says, go sell all your stuff, gather your money, watch. Once this guy is over there in war, you can win her back. You're going to be able to have her. If she's going to get tired of him, he's already old. He can't even satisfy her anymore. Once she's tired of him, she's going to go with you and you're going to have all this money, right? Of course, Iago is a foe. He is no friend to anyone. So I want to, and here's like this big discussion about lust and love, which I won't get into because we learned that in the Summer Dream plays. I don't want to get into it. Kind of seems irrelevant. But here's Iago and Rodrigo. I want to go to the last. Here it is. So I want to focus on this last lines. So let me go to my notes. 740 to 760. And I'm giving you just these so that you can go back and grab quotes. So this is Act 1, Scene 3, lines 740 to around 760. I'm just giving like a, 760. Like a brief outline on what's going on, okay? Look and again, we're analyzing characters as we go, okay? So we've done enough of Othello, a little bit of Desdemona, a little bit of everybody. Here's Iago, and Iago is not talking to anyone. He's talking to the audience. So he's letting the audience know what this whole thing is about. Remember, his advice to Rodrigo is go get some money. You know, you're going to end up having her anyway. It's okay. And he changes his mind. Rodrigo doesn't want to commit suicide anymore. He's like, fine, I'll do what you're telling me. But here's Iago's true personality. This is the reality of who this man is. He says, do I ever make my fool my purse? For I mine own gain knowledge should profane, if I would time spend with such a spine. So he's saying, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to waste my time on some dumb head like Rodrigo. Okay, that's what he's trying to say. He says, but for my sport and profit. So he seems like he's helping his friend. Guess what? He's not. He says, this is for my profit. He says, I hate the Moor. I hate Othello. And it is thought abroad that twixt my sheets he has done my office. So he's like, he's given my office away, my place. I know not if be true, but I, for mere suspicion in that kind, will do as if for surety. He holds me well, so he's like, Othello thinks of me nicely. He likes me. The better shall my purpose work on him. So he's saying, the more he trusts me, the better, right? Because I'm going to take advantage of him. He says, and then he talks about Cassio and whatnot, and he's saying, after some time, to abuse Othello's ear, that he is too familiar with his wife. He had a person and a smooth disposed to be suspected frame to make woman false. The more is of a free and open nature, that thinks men honest, but that seem to be so, and will as tenderly be led by the nose as asses are donkeys. I haven't. It is endangered, hell the night, must bring this monstrous birth to the world's light. So here's what he's saying. I'm going to do Othello. You know how you tie up donkeys and you carry them by the nose? So he's saying, I'm going to do the same with Othello. So here is really where the whole thing gets started. Okay, I'm going to stop here because we're running out of time greatly. I know I passed my time with so much, but I'm really happy that I was able to finish scene 3. So homework for today. Let me go down. Homework for today is we're gonna read and add to graphic organizer. And this is your Tuesday, okay? You're gonna read Act 2, Scene 1. Okay? And I'm sorry I'm not giving you guys a break of homework just yet. I will next week, where there will be one day where you won't have homework, mostly Thursday. Okay? But I really want to get advanced on, I want to kind of keep going forward into the scenes. If you haven't done Khan Academy, again, you have until about tomorrow morning to do it. Turn in your projects. I'm expecting those tonight. If there's outside circumstances, contact me. But other than that, we are good to go. I need everybody to leave, except for Tank. Who else came in late? I think Phoenix came in late. And that's it. Everybody else can leave. So Tank, Phoenix, and that's it. So I'm going to stop my share.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay. Okay, Julia, yeah, you can stay, honey. Okay, let's see who's here. All right. So those of you who are here who were late and didn't get to see what we did in the beginning, I want you to still do it so I can give you credit. So what we did is we took a small reading quiz, which is on Google Classroom. Go to Google Classroom. So you go to, are you guys all watching? You go to Google Classroom, you go to the classwork, and the very first thing that you see is the reading questions. You click on it, you answer them. So far I got Taylor, who's not here, Sophia, who got here late, and she's in here, Jalea, David, and Charlie. You guys need to submit it. And then that's that. Let's see. What else? Oh, and then go back to that. For Khan Academy, are you guys all good on it? Have you been able to log in? Because I think for most of you, I haven't seen. I know Sophia was having a little bit of trouble, but everybody else is good on Khan Academy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can.
Yeah.
You can. Okay. No, Phoenix. Can you speak, Phoenix? Okay. If you can't talk, send me on the.
I'm gonna do it tonight, I think.
Okay, so make sure you get that done. And then Phoenix, while you're here, you gotta get those assignments in Spanish done because they brought your grade to a B- when it used to be an A. So get those done, okay? Look at your
Alright.
grade, look at the zeros, you're missing those.
Okay.
Okay, you can leave the meeting now, honey. Let me see. Sophia, I'm good with you. Jalea, you saw what we did in the beginning, sweetie?
Actually, the questions.
That's it. And then you went on. I'm going to post the recording so you can grab notes for what you missed, but the PowerPoint is also in there, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you can leave now, honey. And then Sophia, you had a question, sweetie?
Yeah, I had a question about some Spanish assignments that I had turned in, but
Yes, and I haven't graded, so give me like till today.
Okay.
I'll get those done. I did see them, and I did want to go back and fix your grade, so I got you. Okay, honey?
No worries. I just
All right.
wanted to make sure that you.
Absolutely. You can leave now, hon. I need to talk to the other ones. All right. David, you're good to go, hon. I'm gonna text you. Here's David. I'm gonna text you for your time right tomorrow morning to let you know what time we're meeting, okay? Unless you're doing something else. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. David. Okay, I don't know if he's hearing me. All right, Charlie, finish your Spanish assignments, honey. Nothing's gonna change unless you finish them. I got you on the essay. In fact, I'm gonna write it down because I am forgetting stuff. So Charlie's essay. Great. So I got you on that. For now, you can leave, okay? I don't know if David's even there. So I'm gonna just kick you guys out. Okay, Tank, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. You are missing a couple of assignments, and I did see that you submitted your graphic organizer, so I'm good with that. You're definitely missing Khan Academy. I didn't see you in there.
I'm gonna do that after
Okay,
my last class of the day.
Okay, good. So make sure that you get that done because that's going in as well. And if it's by tonight, like 8 p.m., if it's not done, I'm just gonna put a 0 in it. Okay. Reason why you have a C. Let me kick.
And then the Khan Academy, it's just labeled as SAT, right?
Yes, sir. That's it. You
Okay.
have to do that part. Charlie, hold up. Let me remove him. There. Okay, so now it's just you and me. All right. Ooh, I'm recording.